Welcome to a special edition of Beyond Category. I'm Eric Felton. We're here at Blues Alley in Washington, D.C., where this jazz supper club is celebrating 50 years. They're doing it in style with legendary guitarist Larry Coryell and his strings-attached band. They'll be playing tonight. We get to check them out right now. Larry Coryell, fantastic. So I love the multiple guitar band, and you've worked in a bunch of contexts with great guitar players, here with Vic Juris, Jack Wilkins, Randy Johnston, but before you've worked with Borelli LaGren, Al Di Meola, John Scofield, some of the greatest guitar players ever.
Don't forget Russell Malone.
Russell Malone.
Leave my muscles alone.
You got to be pretty confident about what you're doing to work in that context.
You have to be confident, but that comes from the basic rule of young players when they move to New York. Believe in yourself, man. Be confident, know that you can do it.
You have been a part of everything that has happened in jazz in the last 40 years. But when you hit the scene in the first place in a sort of jazz rock fusion context that you helped pioneer, and then in the Straight Ahead revival you were there, and now new fusion concepts you're there as well. How have you been so versatile as a musician to be part of everything that's happened in succession?
Well, I think what I've done is I've approached each style as seriously as I approach, say, classical music or straight ahead jazz. Each style has its parameters, and you have to know what they are. You have to develop a vocabulary, not just a note of a diatonic, a sonic vocabulary, but you have to know the little devices that are used in certain types of styles, rhythmic things or stuff that you leave out.
And I imagine as you are doing different idioms, bringing something that works in one way in one idiom, when you bring it into a different area of your playing, it takes on a whole new flavor altogether.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like when you're playing straight ahead, let's say you're going like a straight blues. But if you're doing kind of a fusion blues or any kind of blues that incorporates the language of other idioms, you have to use that. Maybe if you're doing something in G, and then that's a different kind of language instead of just like the Charlie Parker. The basis, though, is the Charlie Parker language. You know, all that language comes from his, not only his solos but his compositions that have the bebop ideas in them.
What's interesting about the language of bebop, those bebop lines,
yeah, you know,
right?
All that stuff.
But they work over a kind of a swing groove that they came out of, and they also sound completely compelling over a rock groove. And how is it one type of rhythmic concept works over two such different kinds of rhythmic underpinnings?
Because even though you're going, like if it's straight eight, you swing in the straight eight manner. You have to remember, a trumpet player years ago, when I was coming up, I was asking him what swinging is, and most people is a you know, the dotted, what is it, a dotted eighth and a 16th. He said swinging is just playing hip.
do you think is hip these days? You've been part of, as we talked about so much of jazz.
Robert Glasper. I just heard Robert Glasper, his new record. He has a version of Stella by Starlight. It's absolutely unbelievable. He takes one segment of the changes in the melody and repeats it and varies it. That's hip. I tell you who else is hip is Anat Cohen. Mm-hmm. Have you heard her?
Yeah.
Man, and Grace Kelly. Unbelievable.
We've had Grace Kelly on this show.
Yeah, she could play.
Terrific player.
Yeah, she's not messing around. And I like that.
So here we are, we're at Blues Alley, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and you are the featured artist for that celebration. Played here first in 1973,
That's
so
right,
over 40 years ago. What is it about a great jazz club and as a place to play jazz as opposed to, say, maybe a concert hall or a festival stage? What's the difference?
Well, I love concerts, I love festivals, but my first love has always been the club, and I'll tell you why. The club is a place, especially if you have a band, where you can evolve, you can develop your concept in front of people who understand the music. So you have no fear of trying things. Like we've been doing that this week. We tried a wide variety of approaches to playing with the multiple guitars and the rhythm section, and some of it was not so successful. Other approaches have been very successful. Like when the rhythm section laid out today, this is the first time we did that, and we just did counterpoint together over the song Beautiful Love. I'm going to keep that. You know, I'm going to retain that.
So it's like being among friends.
Yeah, man, if you want to loosen your strings, it's okay.
joined by Harry Schnipper, owner of Blues Alley, the jazz club here in Washington, D.C., celebrating its 50th anniversary. Harry, welcome.
Welcome to my club.
You know,
welcome to Blues Alley, Eric.
You know, it's not the first time we've been here.
No, this is a 2 or 2.5 year relationship and partnership that we've had with the Voice of America, and we're very proud of it.
Well, I tell you, we're here hearing Larry Coryell today, but the first time you came as a young man to Blues Alley, Larry Coryell was playing.
He was. Much different format, I might add, because if we're all familiar with Larry, we're looking back into the early 1970s when he emerged as a prominent fusion guitarist, and his group was the 11th House.
Now, you know, the club wasn't very old then. It got started in the mid-1960s, 1965, and that was a challenging time to be starting, for somebody to start a jazz club. What was the time like when the club got started?
I often remark about the 1960s. Washington, D.C. was still a sleepy southern town, and Georgetown wasn't the bohemian and the chic neighborhood it is today. And in the mid-1960s, traditional music, jazz music, was the rave, and so consequently it started off, its humble beginnings was as a noisy traditional jazz club.
Playing trad jazz, old school.
Jazz. And then I've been told by others who've approached us this year so far that somewhere in the late 1960s there emerged a movement and a subsequent ownership that decided that it would take Blues Alley into the new jazz century, and from there on, 1970 beyond, it became a prominent jazz club as it is today.
Well, celebrations in the past of anniversaries at the club, when it was 20 years old, it was kind of a who's who of jazz that was part of the slate that year.
That's correct. And if you were to take our 5 decades, Eric, and you were to divide them up sequentially, you'd see trad jazz, you'd see fusion jazz with Larry Coryell, you'll see the big band jazz of Count Basie, Tony Bennett, Sarah Vaughan, Mary Lou Williams, all of them who began in Blues Alley in the 1980s and continued throughout that decade, and then now into the new millennium, where we're looking back retrospectively, but at the same time we're trying to put our best foot forward and look at the future.
One of the things that Larry Coryell talked about when we were chatting was how much a difference it makes for jazz musicians to have clubs to play at. And a lot of times there are big jazz festivals or concert halls. It's not really where the music got started, what the music was about in the first instance. And what is it that you get as a listener when you're at a jazz club as opposed to hearing the music at a concert hall or at a big jazz festival?
Well, I'm a good person to ask that question. I'd say spontaneity would be the simple definition of why it is that we continue to persist in the face of the new millennium and, of course, technology imparting its way. Jazz is alive improvisational music, Eric, and I really feel that some of the best shows I've ever seen are inside these walls. Artists, and especially emerging musicians, whether they be Esperanza Spalding or Gregory Porter or countless others, often reference the fact that if these walls could talk, and I look back upon that from not only the standpoint of the recordings that we produced over the years, Larry Coryell inclusive this weekend, but more importantly that these types of musicians, artists, entertainers act as inspiration to the future generations.
And let's finish out this 50th anniversary celebration at Blues Alley with one more from Larry Coryell and Strings Attached. I'd like to thank Larry Coryell and his strings attached band for joining us. And I'd like to thank Blues Alley, celebrating their 50th anniversary. Happy birthday, Blues Alley. And I'd like to thank you for watching. I hope you'll join us again soon for more good music on Beyond Category.